Hey, folks, before we get to recording here, I want to give a big shout out to our number one supporter, the person who always pokes me in the ribs with a sharp stick to remind me I haven't put an episode out long, and that is my Florida man, big brother, Mark Russ, who I always have a good time hanging out with. Uh, at the old CWF Legends Fanfest. And by the way, if you want to come hang out with all of us, that will be June the 3rd, 2023, up in Lutz. It is at the North Point Residence Inn by Marriott, something, North Point. Just Google CWF Legends Fan Fest, June 3rd, 2023, and you can find out the information there where you get your tickets. And if you need to buy the hotel room, just go into the Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry Facebook group, and there's plenty of posts in there about it. Or send me a message, text, call me, fax, carrier pigeon, telegram. I accept all those. So anyway, Mark, thank you so much for giving us a hard time when we don't post in a while. And by the way, it's all Ariel's fault.
Willie, mercy, baby. This is Shaska Willie. You're listening to Broken Kayfabe with Frankie Seabreeze and Ariel Bologna and Cheese Sandwich. They're like Coca-Cola. They're all over, baby, on whatever network that you find it on, baby. This is Navy SEAL Body Guy, and you are listening to Broken Kayfabe with Frankie Seacrest, Ariel Agbalog, and the Brothership. Now that half-wit, Shaska Willie, better not step on this, or I will step on him, Jack. This is Redneck Steve. You're listening to Broken Kayfabe with Ariel Agbalog, Frankie Seacrest. Flap their gums about anything that they want, putting some steak on it. Oh, hell yeah.
Welcome to Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry. Ariel, you have been MIA for quite some time. Does this have anything to do with your Instagram being hacked?
Oh, you saw the message. Unfortunately, or actually, well, no, it hasn't. I've been busy with work. Unfortunately, my boss had a medical emergency, and he's been he just got out of the hospital actually Wednesday, and he's been there for like almost a month.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've been taking over for him and just, trying to make sure the lab doesn't catch on fire. It's been weird. It's like since he's been gone, everybody's been asking me for a day off. Like, can I get this date off? Blah blah blah. I'm like, sure, I guess, why not? We've had incidents with two separate incidents where we've had altercations with coworkers, and I had to deal with that. HR got involved. They're still doing an investigation on one of them, or one of the incidents. And yeah, it's been quite it's been crazy. It's been crazy as of late. I call my boss every week to see how he's doing, and he's doing well, getting better. He had a stroke, so it seems to be happening a lot lately. People with strokes. My coworkers, family members had some stroke issues also recently, and it's just scary. It's scary all around. But yeah, back to my Instagram account. Probably got compromised, and I notified IG and see what they say.
Well, I blame this whole stroke pandemic on Jeff Jarrett.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I miss your jokes.
Well, today we have an exciting episode. Besides us talking and reconnecting for the first time in almost a month,
Right.
we have Michael Herrick, Chris Spiker, and Dr. Philip Kahn, and myself, in an episode that we're calling again, Ask Michael Anything. No, Michael Asks Anything. So that's gonna be exciting. We've got quite a few here in the can, so hopefully we'll meet again next week to discuss maybe some things discussed on Breaking Kayfabe, because that was the whole purpose of this show.
Right.
And also give these folks some awesome content from the other brother shippers. And before I go to Michael Ask Anything, I do want to put over the Rockin' Randy's podcast. I've mentioned it before. It's hosted by Jason D'Agostino, and he's got a few different podcasts that he does. The Not Another Sports podcast, and he's got one on like some pop punk stuff. And I think he's got another one, but Rockin' Randy's is mainly brother shippers getting together and all having a conversation, which could be gimmick infringement. I don't know. But he is definitely more consistent than we are.
We'll try to be more consistent in the near future. Yeah, I've listened to one of their episodes. Well, you were on it, and I was invited to by William Merriweather to be on the show. You know, as a one of the guests or something. What time? When do they really record?
I think it's Friday nights at like 10:30.
Friday nights. Shoots. Okay, yeah, I'm working. Sucks.
Yeah, well, just put your earbud in and walk around talking, and people won't even have a clue that you're actually the star of a podcast while you're working.
Oh my gosh. If only. If I could do that, that would be great, but no, I'm going to have too many people trying to talk to me, and I mean, that's what I do at work right now, so. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll get, together with you guys and talk about whatever. Even on this podcast, I haven't really contributed into as far as interviewing or being in interviewing brother shippers or guests, and
yeah, it's a good thing you're not getting paid, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, on to it. Let's keep it going. It's been a while since we've done this. We're kind of rusty right now. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, we're just trying to work through stuff.
Was it Rusty part of your old nickname in high school, the Rusty Trombone?
Rusty Tromboner, yes.
All right. Uh-oh.
What happened?
I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good. Let's go to Michael Herrick, Dr. Philip Kahn, Chris Spiker, and Michael Ask Anything. All right, folks. I am happy to be joined by three best friends I didn't know I had until I met them at FanFest. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Not much.
All right, I am joined here by new father, the man that's been changing the diapers and putting babies to sleep, Chris Spiker.
That is I.
I am with wrestling's very own #1 board certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Philip Kahn.
Thank you.
And the man from the Midwest, handsome Michael Herrick.
We need to get you that optometrist appointment right away. The first thing you do this year.
Hey, apparently Amy agrees with me. She married you and procreated with you. So that's two people at least in this world that would say you're a handsome man.
Yeah, she's got glasses, though, and might need a new prescription. So you're not putting yourself in the best company there.
Thank you, everyone, for taking your time out of this wonderful Wednesday to join me. Oh, at 3-ish o'clock-ish. And for part 2 of Michael Herrick Ask Us Anything. Michael, did you do a great deal of homework coming up with some questions?
Well, I just jotted down a few more. I still had a handful from the last time we did this.
Damn.
And I knocked out a few more to the list when we mentioned doing another episode of this. So
excellent.
Hopefully we're good. We'll see.
All right, great, man. Well, what do you got on the board?
All right. Let's start off with your favorite 90s grunge or alternative band or song.
Well, wait a minute. Let's everyone say their age first of all. I'm 40. I'm probably the oldest, right? 49.
I am 46.
Okay.
43.
37.
Okay, so
I'm always a young boy until Christine joins us. I'm the youngest person in the crowd. Actually, no. Travis Raines is 2 weeks younger than me, but still.
Well, so I was 1991 was going into my senior year, which was the year that all the great albums came out. You guys have seen that post on Facebook,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Metallica's Black Album, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, blah 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 blah. So I feel like you guys were a little older, obviously hitting the 90s. So me, I was a young teenager, you know, full of the proverbial piss of vinegar. And the album that changed my life from a grunge band was Pearl Jam's 10.
Good choice.
Very good choice.
Good choice.
I'm not a Pearl Jam fan, but that's good.
Michael's very outgoing about his musical interest.
Well, I found that Michael's very outgoing about a lot of things, you know.
I'm really not.
Michael loves the Dave Matthews Band, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
Oh, I'm not sure you could say much worse to me than that.
He went on a tirade one night
Wow.
and everything kept coming back to this hatred to Dave Matthews. Soundgarden to me was obviously being a little bit younger, and when this stuff really got started, you know, Nirvana, Soundgarden, you know, Audio Slave. I think now looking back at it, anything Cornell did, Audio Slave, Soundgarden, anything like that,
Sure.
I would definitely put that up there. 10 is a fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of later Pearl Jam, but early Pearl Jam is excellent in my mind. Although I will say this, and I've gotten some flack over it, I think Nirvana is kind of overrated, besides the fact that it gave us one of their most famous songs, gave us DDP's theme song.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I've listened to them, and while they're okay, I don't see the hype over it. But again, maybe that's just my age gap. You know?
I think it's interesting because I listen to when I answer these questions like this, I see that at a young age compared to my adult sense, it's changed. Like when I was 16, it was Pearl Jam all the way. No question. Pearl Jam over Nirvana all the way. And now that I've gotten older, I would pick Nirvana over Pearl Jam. You know, that's just, and I can't figure out really why. Like In Utero was my favorite Nirvana album. And as bad as the sound was, Rape Me was my favorite song. I loved Rape Me.
Yeah, good song.
Like, I mean, I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, like the song is just. You know, thank you. Don't report that to the American Board of Plastic Surgery.
I tried so hard not to laugh, but I think that's the first time I've ever heard that sentence uttered in that order.
It's a good song, though. He's right.
It's just incredible.
I mean, to all their own. I mean, you know, as I said, Cornell, looking back at him now, was phenomenal up until he passed, I feel. So.
And I think, honestly, looking back, I think Alice in Chains may have been the most talented out of all of them.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Alice in Chains is...
Like, when I go back, and I mean, I liked a lot of those other bands, too. I mean, there were
so many, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Soundgarden was great. And just
Soundgarden to me is iconic.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to give Nirvana props. Wasn't a big fan, still not, but they did give us Dave Grohl.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, who is still
tremendous.
Kicking. Yeah.
I mean, how many projects did he spin off into because of that? So, I mean, that is a good point. I mean, Dave Grohl, anything he touches turns to gold. Not to mention, you talk about a guy whose musical knowledge is vast, and he always has come off as a good dude too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like a legit human being, and that to me is, one of my favorite Dave Grohl moments is watching him play with Rush, with him sitting behind the drum kit with Alex and Getty and just going like ballistic.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. Good old Virginia boy.
Yep.
Have you all seen? There's a clip of Dave Grohl talking about his the opening of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and where the drum part and where it came from.
Yes, it was. What was it? Was it a funk band? Or
The Gap. I think it was the Gap band.
Yep.
Gap band. That's it.
Charlie Wilson. And
yes.
He said he met and like they played it and you could hear that it actually was pretty much the same beat bop 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 and he said he met Charlie Wilson at a party and he said, hey man, I want to tell you were a big influence on me, and he goes, yeah man, I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I know you ripped off my drum, whatever.
He has this. The cool thing about that guy, he's so,
how you doing, man? Chris?
He's so eclectic.
I appreciate it.
The coolest thing about him is that he has, he likes cooking barbecue apparently in L.A. And he actually did like a sabbatical in North Carolina to learn how to do North Carolina pork barbecue.
He's a smart man.
That's cool.
He's a smart man.
Like through Lexington barbecue and everything like that. Like it was kind of like that area, Western North Carolina barbecue.
Ooh. Oh
yeah.
So this is how it always shook out for me. Nirvana was the first band that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And they'll always be my favorite from that era. I think Kurt Cobain was probably the best songwriter out of any of those bands. Chris Cornell, absolutely, I consider him to be the voice of my generation. He was the preeminent out of all of that, I think. I mean, you listen to like the his version of "Nothing Compares to You."
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely haunting.
It is.
And,
yes.
I mean, just an unbelievable talent. Pearl Jam was the commercial success out of all of them. They were the big push there. But Alice in Chains, as was mentioned before, I think they were probably the best overall band. And the older I get, the more of their stuff that I really enjoy. I can't put them ahead of Nirvana just because of what Nirvana has meant to me.
Oh,
but yeah. They're right there. It's 1A and 1B.
So which is your favorite Nirvana album?
Honestly, it's probably the Unplugged, just because I love some of the covers that they did. Lake of Fire, Plateau, Man Who Sold the World.
The
Lead Belly cover at the end.
I do have to hand it to them. That album is superb.
I'm sorry, which album is that?
The MTV Unplugged.
Oh.
Which is actually phenomenal. If you're not a big Nirvana fan, like I'm not, you can still be blown away by that album.
Yeah. If you haven't heard it, Frankie, you should definitely check it out.
No, I heard it back in the day, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not a fan, and I'm sorry to not be a yes man. I should have been one more in my life, but I digress. I'm not a big fan because they purposely went and did not what people were expecting. I'm going to regret saying this, but I believe that if someone is paying to see you perform, they shouldn't see you do this thing that is you going out of your way to purposely not do what the people are expecting. And so I'm not a fan of that. Now, was the Man Who Sold the World great? Yes. And the other things, and did I think it was really cool that he was sitting there like in a rocking chair playing? I thought all that was cool. But when I heard that like they went out of their way to went out of their way to not do what was expected of them. I was like, come on.
Well, that was more a shot at the record company than it was the fans or anything. And everyone there seemed to enjoy what they did. I want to say it was The Ringer that put out a really good oral history.
They did.
Of the recording of that album and the special and everything. And it's definitely worth your time to track down and read. Because, yeah, I mean, Cobain was so unhappy with all the commercialization of everything. And this was his chance to stick it to the label and everything else. And they still made an amazing album and special out of it. But I understand your point, Frankie. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. If I'm giving my money to someone, and by the way, for that MTV Unplugged appearance, I gave Nirvana $0 toward the production costs of that. I expect my money's worth, and so you know what? Point taken. I guess I got it.
Absolutely.
What's next?
Okay.
So guys, can I interrupt for something that everybody on this call will appreciate?
Yeah,
Sure.
of course. You got some food? You got some food there or what?
Actually, even better. This, my friends, came from Star Trek Spirits. It is a bottle of Romulan Ale vodka.
That
my.
is flipping awesome.
That is very
Romulan Ale vodka?
Yes. So, Frankie, in the Star Trek lore, people have been asking for this for years. So I got a Christine graduate in 2018, 2019. They started a line of Star Trek themed spirits. The first one was a Captain Jim Kirk bourbon, which was absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the best bourbons I've ever had. So they kept releasing these, these themed spirits, 10-4 themed vodka, I think the other one was. But people kept saying, where's the Romulan Ale? Because Romulan Ale is famous in Star Trek culture for being strong shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually illegal in the Federation. I think they say that's what Kirk and McCoy have a conversation about in Wrath of Khan. And they're like, oh, this is the advantage of being light years from Starbase is, break this shit out. So when it finally came out, they came out with the choice of vodka or rye whiskey. I'm not the biggest rye whiskey fan, though.
Yeah, no one is.
I'd rather have a bourbon whiskey, scotch, something. Or like a Tennessee whiskey or something like that. So, and vodka you could do more with. Like, I don't think I'm going to drink it straight per se, but being a former bartender and a server and a manager, I'm going to play with this. Yep. Thank you, sir. I'm going to play with this and see what I come up with. Because I want to see, I'm going to take a sip of it just because I'm curious how it tastes straight. But being a former bartender, I already have ideas in place what goes well with vodka and what I can do to maintain the color. So this is exciting to me.
Heck yeah.
I'm a nerd. But anyway,
you know what? I would try that. I like gimmicky anything that's a gimmick. I mean, that's the truth.
It is so gimmicky. I'm not even gonna lie. If it tastes like shit, the bottle looks cool. Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah. So I mean,
I wonder if Google Translate can translate that Romulan.
Well, Frankie, how about this? I can find out. I'm sure they'll ship to Florida. If I pay you for a bottle, we'll get it shipped and you bring it to FanFest, and we'll see what kind of trouble we get into with it.
That is a wonderful idea, my
Frankie's
friend.
eyes got big at that one.
Okay. Well, we may have to put this together then, because I'm already thinking how I want to get. There is a spirit distillery up here that has a killer whiskey, and I want to get Dr. Khan a bottle of it because I know he's a Tennessee whiskey guy.
Yeah. Oh yes.
And I'm like, how am I going to get it there? I'm like, wait a second, and I'm coming up with all these ideas in my head. So that might have to happen. If I send Frankie money,
you wrap it in bubble wrap, 2 layers. You put it in a 2-gallon Ziploc bag. You wrap that up in bubble wrap and put it in another 2-gallon Ziploc bag and put it in your suitcase. And I'm not speaking from experience or anything.
bullshit.
But it goes through TSA fine. on your carry-on, and as long as you've got it double wrapped like that, you're not going to have any trouble with it.
So you double wrap it, you double ziplock it, then you double wrap it again.
Yeah, you bubble wrap, ziplock. That way, if it was to break, it's not getting out onto your clothes or anything.
What is the name of it? Let me see if we have it in any of the ones down here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Life Hacks with Michael Herrick. Well, it's called Star Trek Spirits.
No, the one you're on the ship.
Oh, let me look at the exact name of it. It's from all the way up here. And if worse comes to worse, I can always ship it to Dr. Khan, or I can always have him mail to Dr. Khan, and he can bring it to FanFest. It's called St. Lawrence Spirits.
Okay.
Yes.
It is absolutely amazing. Then there's one in Hershey, which is down closer to Mac, that's called Hidden Still. That is also really quality stuff. So there may be some whiskey coming down somehow to FanFest from up here, fans to share with folks.
Very nice. I've got to start bringing my whiskey again. That's going to be my new thing. Everybody enjoyed that 18-year crown I had down there.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous I wasn't there for that, to be 100% honest.
I still have some left over, my friend. There's still some left.
Well, you know what Dr. Khan said? He says, "Hey, I'm only bringing this out because Spiker's not here."
Bastard. You bastard.
So, Michael, what is the next question there on the agenda?
Well, it actually ties in really well with this discussion here, talking about Star Trek.
Yes.
Who do you consider to be the best second in command throughout the different shows?
I'll go first. I have no idea. I've watched a handful of episodes / movies in my life, so I'm not informed enough to make an opinion on that. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
We're just going to pretend Frankie said Mr. Spock and move on.
I don't know that I would choose him because I think you have to have emotions to be a leader. That everything can't be logical, because then you end up crapping on people. And let me tell you, the restaurant bar business taught me that, because I am a very black and white person, but I wasn't a very what's the word, not emotional, empathetic person back in those days. So I don't see Spock as being the best leader. I think he would be great to consult, but I don't think he would be the best.
Why do you think Jim Kirk was such a good leader, though? Because he had Spock to play off of. Kirk was impetuous as hell. He's a great thinker. I
agree. I think that's why I think Spock is the perfect number 2.
Captain, Spock was because they played so well off each other, and the McCoy coming and telling that they were both wrong in some instances. McCoy's like, "Hey, you guys are full of shit," and doctors are good for that. Trust me.
Yes. Most definitely.
Trust me, I'm very close with quite a few. So, let's see here. Spock. Overall character-wise, Spock, but Riker always had his act together on Next Gen.
See, I like the Riker thing. But then what do you like? That whole thing of Riker was called the first officer, right? And second in command was considered Data or whatever. In that one episode, they all go crazy about.
Yeah.
But I like Riker. Spock was just on a different level for me to consider him sort of the second in command.
But because thinking about it in a certain way, Spock was treated more as one of the stars of the show. There are people, and one of my dearest friends in the world, Heather, will tell you that Spock was the true star of the original Star Trek series over Kirk.
It was for me. It was for me.
There are people, I won't argue with them because I tend to agree. at points. Because you ask people who Kirk is, they'll say, oh, you ask people who Spock is, everybody knows who Mr. Spock is.
This is the real leader.
That
This
is
guy
amazing.
right here.
That's amazing.
Come on!
Fine Corinthian leather.
Hey, I mean, he survived how many years on that jacked up planet waiting for Kirk to come back? I mean, it's the finest adaptation of Moby Dick known to man. But Riker, like, next gen, you could definitely tell Picard was the star, but Riker was in that central role, even when you'd have a lot of stuff featuring Data, because Data was, as we all know, the human characteristic character that every Star Trek show has to have. I'm learning how to aspire to become more human, and it's an analogy for the rest of us. So, and I mean, Riker was always trying to get laid too, so.
So he had a little bit of Kirk in him.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like how they flipped the dynamic a little bit there with Next Generation. You know, Kirk was the hothead in the original series, where Riker was, and Picard was a little more, I don't know, a cross between Kirk and Spock. He had some of the logic, some of the emotions, and then you had Data playing as the strictly logical character.
Agreed.
I like how that dynamic was.
Agreed. I mean, also, I'm not the biggest fan of the show, but I have to give a shout out to Doug Jones, who plays Saru on Discovery, as being one of the best support, because again, he's the alien human, as I call them sometimes, and he's just so cool. Like, he's cool, he's calm, he's collected, and he's the guy who you get behind, because their main character is not exactly the strongest, but he anchors that. So,
and I'm gonna give a shout out to Major Kira.
Yes.
From Deep Space Nine, because she was a fun character.
She was, and I mean, she always had a lot going on too, and her and Cisco always had nice counterpoints to things, because Cisco, being the emissary, and she's like, well, okay, you're the foreign leader, you're the chosen leader of my people, but you're still, and she's watching him go through all these, trials and tribulations as she is, so. And Frankie's like, okay, this is like talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Move on.
Oh, was I quiet on that one? I was on the first one, but let me tell you, I haven't aired the second one yet. On the second one, Matt Crowder didn't say shit. I bulldogged that whole conversation with questions for Jeff, and I feel sort of bad about that, because
you shouldn't.
Because I just, there were questions I wanted to ask Jeff, and I just whatever. I just jumped on it. But anyway, I digress. Again.
I mean, the best thing about that was we were, we said, okay, Jeff and, Matt are going to talk football. Frankie's going to get up, go down, get a hot dog, walk the dog, take a nap, come back. They're still going to be talking like 9 hours later.
And you weren't wrong.
All right, guys. Heathcliff or Garfield?
Ooh.
Garfield. And the reason why is because growing up, I mean, I watched both, but Garfield would be on when I'd be getting ready for school in the morning. Garfield and Friends would always be on when I'd be getting ready for school in the morning. And the Garfield books were big at our school library. So I read through all the old Jim Davis flip books, everything like that. And I mean, who likes Mondays?
See, I think the age difference may play in here, because for you, Garfield was on in the mornings when you get ready for school. When I was a kid, it was on every Saturday, airing new episodes. It wasn't in syndication yet.
Gotcha.
As an overall property, Garfield. However, that nostalgia, getting home from school after school as fast as possible. The only way we got that block, I think it was Heathcliff Inspector Gadget, the Transformers, and then G.I. Joe, Channel 9. And because of that, and my love of Optimus Prime and G.I. Joe, Heathcliff takes it for me. It's just because of that solely.
That's fair.
That's a strong 2-hour block right there.
That really is. That's a very compelling right there.
Because Inspector Gadget is underrated.
Absolutely.
Yes, very much
Highly
so.
underrated.
Absolutely.
Did you guys ever see the first Inspector Gadget film?
No.
Didn't it have Matthew? Was that the Matthew Broderick one?
The
Yes.
second one had somebody else, but the first one with him was actually very cool, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
The second
check that out.
who I'm gonna have to Google who was in the second one. I never saw the second one because I didn't think there needed to be a second one. It was not Matthew Broderick, and I thought Matthew Broderick was great as Inspector Gadget. So
Absolutely.
So what about you, Frankie?
Dr. Khan totally stole my answer because it was something that I watched in the afternoon or after school. It was, but also, Garfield was a little boring for me. Where Heathcliff was a little more rowdy and rambunctious. I don't know. I could picture him in like a hip hop bucket hat or something. He was a little more outgoing and causing stuff. Where I'm not going to do it because I feel like I would be stepping on Chris Saha's gimmick. But he was a little boring. Oh, I'm eating my lasagna. That kind of stuff.
But I think that was part of the appeal of him, though. And for different strokes for different folks, he also inspired me to find out where Abu Dhabi was because he kept trying to send Normal to Abu Dhabi like every other week.
This is very true. Very true.
Inspector Gadget, the second one was played by French Stewart.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's who it was. I could picture him, and I could not think of his name.
That was me playing the role of Lou Kippelman there.
Yes.
Fabulous Frankie, are you there? Well, yes, I am. We're see how low Frankie can get his baritone voice.
Here we go. Well, I have to work on it. I'll work on it.
You were there. You had the option. You were there.
Dude, that was
That's not the worst impression I've heard on any of these episodes before.
Oh man, yeah. So I was a big Heathcliff fan. Still am. Well, I wish they would do remember the what was the VH1 show they used to do where they would show where these people were today.
Beyond the music.
Beyond the music. We need Beyond the Tunes. I want to know where is Heathcliff and what's he doing today.
Exactly.
I bet he's working a medial job just to pay child support.
I mean, another thing Garfield had going for him was the fact that when they finally made a live action, even though the movie's not very good, he was voiced by Bill Murray.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which led to one of the finest post-credit scenes in cinema history during Zombieland 2. Which, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
I have not.
Good movie. I don't remember the post-credit scene right off, but
I'll have to do that now.
Both of the Zombielands are fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Can you spoil it for us?
No, because it'll take away the hilarity of it, and I can't truly describe how funny it is, especially if you know about the first Zombieland. You're like, how the hell? And you hear Bill Murray has a cameo in the second one. You're like, how he died in the first one? So it answers that question very, very succinctly, and it's hilarious. So I'm not going to spoil it because y'all need to go watch it.
Oh man,
streaming any place?
That I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
What wrestling tape did you rent the most often?
Ooh.
I'll go ahead and go first. I think it would be the girl that was at one of the WrestleManias, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee.
Oh, Frankie.
Fabulous. That's awesome.
Zombieland 2 is on Stars, by the way. If you have a Stars subscription.
I'll have to do that now.
Oh my God, I had to mute for a second because I'm still laughing about that. Good Lord.
I'm just speechless. That was
Yeah,
such a
I
good
was trying to
answer.
fill time there because I knew everybody was struggling with Frankie.
And that, we're not going to be able to top that answer. Period.
I can go again with a for real one. I think it would be one of the WrestleManias.
That counts.
I didn't watch. I couldn't get my parents to do the old get the WWF stuff. And I don't even think I even knew a whole lot about when they were coming on because all we got was like whatever was on USA. Which was some prime time, and so I wasn't into that, but that was a little later than the Starcades. Yeah, and then in my high school years, we really didn't rent videotapes that much in my high school years.
Okay.
And plus, I was into girls.
Right.
Yeah, so
for me, it was Survivor Series 87 and 88 because I loved the 10-man tag team matches.
Yeah.
They stopped it after those two. In 89, they didn't have one of the tag team matches anymore.
So you rented those more than once?
Oh, multiple times.
Wow.
2 or 3 times a year at least, probably. Because in the summer we'd have to go grocery shopping with my mom. And so while she's going around the store, my brother and I were in the magazine aisle reading PWI.
And that's what I was. Same thing.
Yep.
And then we'd make our way over to the video section, which was right by the cash registers and the checkout lines. So, we'd head over that way so that when my mom swung through heading to check out, we'd be there. We could get the videotapes we wanted. And
yeah,
our choices were like Disney movies or wrestling that we could rent. And so Survivor Series 87 and 88 got rented a lot.
Wait a minute, your grocery store had a daggone VHS section?
Yeah, actually.
yeah.
At least 2 of ours.
Yeah, I didn't either. I'm not. Food Line didn't have that shit.
No. Not North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
We were lucky. We were lucky if the grocery stores were selling food.
I mean, Pennsylvania had video stores all over the place. I mean, they had them in convenience stores. They had them in, like some of them were like grocery stores, kind of the corner of grocery stores, and we had video stores out the friggin' wazoo. So
ours was Rite Aid, and you had to go to Rite Aid. You went to Rite Aid and you rented the VCR, and then you got the tape.
Okay.
Believe it or not,
we had 2 grocery stores, and then we had 2. Well, for a short time, there were 2 independent video stores, and then there was just the one. It wasn't until I was, 19 or 20, we got a Hollywood video, and then later a family video. But we never had a Blockbuster in my town.
I'm actually really glad that Frankie licensed his trademark out to that nice video store chain, by the way.
How'd you know I used to be called the Blockbuster?
You've told me many stories. The Hollywood, the West Coast video, the A to Z kid, all sorts of names. The man of many names, Frankie Seacrest, Mr. 391.
Yes.
My answer actually falls in line with Mikey's, actually. The first 2 Survivor Series, because of those 10-man tag team matches, always captivated me. How many times I watched them. You got like 20 dudes just standing on the ring apron there.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And looking back on it now, you're like, holy crap, they had some talent in this match. I mean,
oh my God, the tag team ranks in WWF at that time period was insane.
I mean, 88, you had the Hart Foundation, the Bulldogs, the Rockers, Demolition. They're all in one match.
The Rougeaus, Tully and Arn.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could go on. I mean, of course, you had the Bolsheviks, but I mean, come on,
Right.
you got to job somebody out. So no, and then like the first like 5 or 6 WrestleManias, I think were pretty popular as far as me renting those out goes. Because then starting in like 92 or 93, we started making a point to get them on pay-per-view, and then we'd record them. So literally, I'd have tapes upon tapes just sitting here of WCW pay-per-views, WWF pay-per-views, everything like that.
Right,
So,
you didn't have to rent them anymore then.
Exactly.
I rented the hell out of the Wrestling Classic.
Okay.
Like that was my first.
Nice.
That was the first one I got my hands on. I just kept renting it because JYD ended up winning it again, and he was from North Carolina, and I was real stoked about that.
That's cool.
And
That's a cool
the
connection.
Hogan Savage, yeah,
JYD, baby.
from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yep. Yes, indeed. All right. What do you got next, Mikey?
Cake or pie, and why?
Oh wow, that's good. That's good. That's like an amazing question. I'll go ahead and go first. This doesn't require much thought for me. I'm a cake man, obviously. If you see my girth, I'm a cake man. My mother makes this cake. I think it's called $100 chocolate cake, and it is my favorite cake on the face of the planet. The cake is not as dark as Devil's Food, and the icing is a little thicker and than the Devil's Food. But that's my favorite cake in the entire world. Close second might be coconut cake. The kind where like the cake part is actually really moist.
Right.
But with my pies, my mother growing up, she would always put meringue on all of her pies. So we'd have a chocolate pie with meringue on it. What's another one that we would have? Coconut cream pie would have a meringue on it.
Yes.
So when I get a pie that does not have a meringue on it, I feel a little disappointed.
I can see that.
But commonly, the only pie that comes with meringue on it is what? Lemon meringue.
Lemon meringue, yeah.
Yeah.
And seriously, who wants that? Who wants a sour pie?
Oh, I love lemon meringue pie.
Exactly.
You guys would. I'm from the mountains of North Carolina. If it's not got a pound of sugar in it, we ain't eating it.
Agreed. I'm a cake guy. Mainly because I think you can standardize cake more than you can standardize a pie. And I think I'm a big icing. I like to have the various forms of icing, and I think that it gives me much more of that insulin / dopamine burst for pure euphoria when you get the right icing. So I'm a cake guy.
So
I think it's harder to mess up. I think it's harder to mess up a cake than it is to mess up a pie. Because if a cake's bad, if you've got great icing, you can
make up for it. Sure.
You can make up for it. But
That's
a
a good
pie, every aspect of the pie has to be great. And I love pie. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I got to go with cake.
This past summer, I was up at my in-laws' place, and my mother-in-law had like one round cake tin but it was not in the tin. It was out of cake, and it was just the yellow cake. And I just kept breaking off a piece and eating it, and breaking off a piece and eating it. And I kept going, oh my gosh, this stuff is amazing. I love this. What's the recipe? And my mother-in-law said, it's like out of the box. It's just regular cake. And I was like, I had no idea that cake was so good, because when you're a kid, and I'm still have the maturity of a kid, when you eat a cake, you eat it for the icing, So
Absolutely.
I didn't appreciate the actual cake part until I had the cake part without the icing. And so my mother-in-law will make this, Duncan Hines or whatever in a little wooden, of the layers in a cake pan. And I just thought it was the best thing. I mean, I still do. And if I wasn't trying to get in a little better ring shape, I would pick up some every time I go to the grocery store because I eyeball it and go, oh, should I get this yellow one or should I get this chocolate one or what? But I'm trying to get in a ring shape for the CWF Legends Fanfest up in June.
Give me a good 12-layer chocolate or a good red velvet or a good give me a good carrot cake.
Red velvet.
Heaven.
Red velvet cake is like my favoriteest cake known to man. And I say that because my dearly departed stepmother, my older sister, just recently tried making called a ho-ho cake. It was one of Brenda's specialties. It's exactly how it sounded. It was a layered like a ho-ho.
Oh my God.
And it was like she made it like perfectly. And every year around my birthday, I would get
Oh my God.
And it was like the greatest dessert like ever. I mean, Christine's red velvet is like on point and I will never fault it. She made me 2 red velvet cakes in 2 years when we were in North Carolina. The first one was a Captain America shield cake that was red velvet. And the second one was for my 35th birthday, it was a giant red velvet cake with the Guardians cassette, the Guardians of the Galaxy cassette decorated on it.
Nice.
So that is like, it's like 1A and 1B. And she even said, she goes, I'm not touching the ho-ho cake. Because
the question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I got excited about hearing about the ho-ho cake. I totally went off track. I do have a question though. So, are we considering cheesecake its own category, or is that considered cake?
Ooh,
that's a good question. I think it's probably its own category.
My Flaming Hot Cheetos birthday cake that was a Flaming Hot Cheetos cheesecake,
which was superb. I hope.
Oh God. The most incredible thing I've ever had. It was absolutely off the charts.
See, the thing is, cake is more versatile. Like, you can mix things together better with cake. Pie is pretty straightforward for the most part.
Absolutely. But I have a question, Michael, real fast, though. So, when we're talking carrot cake, I like a dense carrot cake as opposed to the looser variety in terms of the cake itself. Do you like the looser or do you like the more dense carrot cake?
So pretty much, do you like the denser or do you like the Pamela Anderson carrot cake?
I'm a dense guy. I like the dense.
As long as it has good quality homemade cream cheese frosting, I don't care.
Yes. There's your answer. Yes.
Do not give me canned frosting.
Agreed.
God, no.
Well, I didn't know you were a frosting snob.
Oh, I am, because that's why my answer to this is pie. Because too many times you get cake that has icing that is either too sweet or it's not flavored enough.
Yes, I totally respect that answer. That's brilliant.
And maybe it's just because I've spent so much time up in the Amish country and there's so many amazing bakeries around here, and my mom and my aunt and my grandma all made excellent pies. I'll take a pie every day, twice on Sunday over cake.
What's your favorite pie?
Either the Amish style peanut butter pie, which has very little peanut butter in it, but that's all it tastes like, amazingly enough. Yeah, you mix peanut butter and powdered sugar together. And you put a layer of this in the bottom of the pie crust, and then you put vanilla pudding over the top of it, and then whipped cream. And you sprinkle a little bit more of the peanut butter and powdered sugar mixture over the top. But what you get from it is all peanut butter taste. It's crazy.
God. That's fabulous.
It's so good. Second would be rhubarb custard.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
But I mean, really, any fruit-based pie is good. Double crust, single crust. Meringues, excellent.
Yeah.
Anything. I'm open to basically, if I go someplace, I try. When we go up to the Amish area, we go to some of the restaurants there. I try a different kind of pie, or at least I try to try a different kind of pie. Sometimes I'm just pulled to something I love. Shoe fly pie. There's a good one that's different.
Yes, I had a patient. I'd never had that, and I had a patient. I think I told you about that. Made me shoe fly pie. It's fabulous. I loved it.
Yes,
I loved
fantastic. Spiker knows.
Yes. And the Amish shoe pie is pretty damn hard to beat, I must say. Speaking of things that are hard to beat, say hello to.
Hello.
But say hello.
Oh my goodness.
Littlest brother
Spiker and JJ.
Oh my.
JJ,
goodness.
say hi to Uncle Mike and Uncle Frankie and Uncle Phil.
So adorable.
Yeah.
Oh,
Say hi, bud.
goodness.
Hi,
They're
JJ.
so cute.
Oh my goodness.
They're so cute when they can't talk back.
Yeah.
Says the guy that's got 2 teenagers.
Say hi, bud. Say hello, everyone.
Hi, JJ.
Hello, buddy.
I look forward to seeing everybody in June at CWF Legends Fanfest at
Yes.
that really long hotel name that Dad keeps talking about.
Heck yeah. Look
That's
at that
adorable.
face. Look at that.
He has cheeks for days.
Yes, he does. He's looking forward to seeing everybody.
Dude.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Sean is better than Brett.
Forever.
He knows.
See, but Grandpa Mac tries to tell me otherwise.
It's okay. You'll teach him.
No.
Adorable.
Yes, he is. I think he's still hungry, so we're going to backtrack over here. But just wanted to show him off quick. So
Good idea. What's
All
next?
right.
Okay, you can cross over one character from Star Trek to Star Wars or vice versa.
Oh, man.
Who are you going to pick?
This is out of my wheelhouse.
So it's not a trade. It's just they can go from one franchise to the other.
Oh, if you want to make a trade, that would work too.
Phil Constantine trade the Ewoks for the Klingons.
You're goddamn right. You're goddamn right. You're God, those fucking Ewoks. Pardon me. I'm sorry. This has been this ongoing thing that has just caused me high blood pressure the last week and a half with Spiker. I just can't take it anymore. You know, give me Khan, and you can have all the goddamn Ewoks you want. Put them in there with the Kirby's, whatever the hell those things were called, and just, gosh.
So we're saying Triggle's better than Ewoks?
Ewoks just, ugh. Like
I'm dying again over here. I've not laughed this hard on a podcast like ever. Between the Pamela and Tommy comment and this is like comedy gold right here.
like, oh, good God. I mean, like your John Wick answer the other day, like John Wick with the Ewoks. I hope he'd kill all of them.
John. No. See, it would be John Wicket. It would be John Wick as an Ewok. Name him John Wicket.
Oh, I know, but I just, oh God, please.
But I'd actually pay theater money to see Keanu Reeves fight a bunch of cannibalistic teddy bears. Not even gonna lie.
It would be incredible.
It would be pretty fucking great. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. That would be pretty awesome.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I got worked up about the Ewoks, guys. Just.
It's okay. I mean, this all I can see now is whenever someone mentions like the meme of somebody going back to like the war, I can imagine Phil Collins' face just going back to Endor, like looking at the Ewoks running around.
Fucking God, no. Stupid ass. Oh. That stupid little waddle walk that Wicket did, like with Princess Leia. He like waddled. I was like first grade. I was in kindergarten. I was like, This is idiotic. So stupid.
This is tremendous.
You know, oh,
You know, I kind of would like to take Han Solo into the Star Trek universe so him and Captain Kirk could finally meet.
you know,
Just for the interaction of two of my all-time favorite fictional characters together.
that would not be bad.
And give Han Solo an actual like starship, not a beloved hunk of junk. See what happens.
Not a hunk of junk. Absolutely.
Which speaking of which, gentlemen, I don't know. I think I told Michael this, but you all saw the Facebook post where JJ asked Mac for the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The kicker is I get a FaceTime about an hour later going, "Don't you ever use my grandson for emotional blackmail?" He goes, "There's a Lego Millennium Falcon coming." I'm like, "Yes."
Incredible.
The
That's
big
awesome.
one?
No, it's not like the $900 deluxe.
Okay, good.
No,
about to say.
I would be really upset at that. I would be like super upset if he got that one. He got the smaller one. There's one that's like $150, $200, not quite as fancy. But that's the one I've been looking at for years, anyways. And he goes, "Don't you ever use my grandson as emotional blackmail ever again." I said, "I was kidding, but okay."
You know, I
like
also think that Data could work out well, like on Coruscant somewhere. You know, as a character in the Star Wars universe, I can see Data fitting in well somehow in the universe. But you know,
Data and C-3PO. Data could probably understand R2-D2. I think that'd be an interesting conversation.
yeah, I think so too.
People are like, "What's R2 saying?" Data's like, "You don't want to know, actually."
I'm
He's
going to
saying
send
that
Bourne
he's saying he hates
to
the
the cantina.
Ewoks.
He's saying he hates all of you. I mean, you could throw the Klingons in there against the Stormtroopers.
Oh
Because
yeah.
because
Well, that
I
would be so unfair.
because I guarantee you
Stormtroopers.
because I guarantee you the Stormtroopers would learn to shoot and aim correctly real quick.
So true. Absolutely.
Okay.
I would just drop Morn in the cantina. Just for fun.
Tremendous.
Not for anything else, just him looking around the bar.
Incredible.
Just Photoshop Morn in. Morn is there during the events of A New Hope.
Yeah.
Just sitting there watching
That'd be
everything
great.
happen. No, it turns out he's on the
That was
other
it.
side of the alien who talks to Luke and gets his hand cut off. And just watches
Yes.
everything. And then he goes to Deep Space Nine. He's telling him all the story. And he goes, "Yeah, you ain't gonna believe the shit I've seen."
You could film the whole movie from Morn's perspective.
That was the greatest thing about Morn, though, is, you know, everybody's like, "Oh, he's so talkative and he did this and he did that throughout the entire Deep Space Nine." Doesn't say a damn thing. They even had a whole episode. I think it's in the final season where he
Yes.
supposedly dies. And they're talking
Yeah,
about
he
it.
faked his own death
He faked his own death
because he owed a bunch of money to somebody or something. It was great. It was
That
great.
is one of my sentimental favorite Deep Space Nine episodes, just for that reason.
Yeah, agreed.
So pure genius. But no, I think we have some excellent choice. How would the Borg do in the Star Wars universe?
Oh, the Borg assimilating Vader.
Yeah, would a Borg cube be able to withstand a Death Star?
I just saw a meme like that the other day
Really?
where it was a Borg cube pulling up and it says, "I don't think that's a moon."
Nice.
God, can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine Wookiee Borgs?
Oh,
Oh.
what about Ewok Borgs?
Oh goddamn.
Borg Ewoks.
Grr.
I'm gonna wear my Ewok shirt to FanFest just to piss Dr. Khan off.
Oh god.
Oh, well,
Oh.
All right, let's jump to a question that I know Frankie can comment on. Favorite comfort food meal?
The one I'm eating right now, which is chips, salsa, and queso.
There you go. You can't go wrong with that.
Oh, yes.
Comfort food. Buffalo chicken dip.
There you go.
It's always a favorite.
Am I up now?
On this. For me, it's fried chicken, mashed potatoes,
Ooh.
gravy made from the drippings from cooking the chicken.
Ooh.
Maybe some green beans cooked with bacon.
There you go.
Not bad. Ah, God. So mine, I don't know if I can say in no particular order, but it's got to be liver pudding, fried cornbread, good, like a really healthy dose of collards with a lot of bacon fat in it. That would be my combo, as crazy as that sounds.
And Texas
more
Pete.
cornbread.
And Texas Pete, yes, Texas Pete. A little bit in the grits. Texas Pete by far. My favorite thing, we have a little cafeteria here that I know Frankie knows, K&W. And my favorite thing is to get their mac and cheese and just douse the shit out of it in Texas Pete. It's awesome. Awesome.
There you go.
There's so many old people at K&W on any given day.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna tell you a sort of a funny story. So back in my most miserable moments, I had to get roommates, and so I had this one roommate, and his nickname was the Shitter, and
this is already starting out well.
Yeah, it was a horrible period of my life, and so his father used to go to Whitey's restaurant, you know that there, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would sit with the table of guys, right? And this is while we were roommates. Like, we hadn't been roommates that long, and I only knew him casually. And so he had heard me saying to this other guy that I was going to go live in this other guy's house. This is in 2008, at the end of 2008. And so he said, "Oh, well, I'm going to need a place to stay too. Do you have another room?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, sure." Well, this guy that we were living with, who was a friend of ours, quotes, basically was foreclosing on his house. He was going to stop paying it and then do a bankruptcy, right? And so he was not going to pay rent and then just take our rent that we paid him and live off of that. And I was like, now that I realized that, I mean, years later I realized that, and I was like, what a dick move. But anyway, so the Shitter's grandpa didn't want this person to be elected president, and so he went to K&W and was reading the newspaper, and when he read who the president was, he fell over dead in K&W with a heart attack. He was like 89.
Wow.
And so me being the sensitive person that I was, said, when this guy told me, he's like, "Yeah, my dad was reading the newspaper, the morning the election results were announced, and he had a heart attack and died in K&W there in Wilmington." I said, "Man, how big of a racist do you have to be to fall over dead because this guy was elected president?"
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, That's my K&W story.
It's like it's one of those places where you have automatic, like the defibrillators abound. You have to have a minimum of about 5 around every corner.
Well, and I ate there after I got into real estate with this lady. It was very, very nice. And I realized, and she's like, hey, you go in there and you just talk to people and you meet them, hand out your card. And then, there's a difference, right? There's a difference in a 50-year-old lady handing out their card to a bunch of 80-year-old guys than it is me in my 40s handing out my card to a bunch of 80-year-old guys, right? They're a lot more interested in talking to the lady. So, yeah, that was the only time I went there. And I'm not a big eater. Like, I don't like to eat one big meal. I like to eat a bunch of little meals from the time I wake up until the time I fall asleep. Oh, since no one asked, I'll tell you the story of why we call him the shitter.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean,
We were waiting.
Yeah.
So this guy was my roommate, and he and I shared a bathroom, and he had I'm going to be careful here to not give his identity away. He had a pretty decent job in a town that was a little far away. Well, he had some mental health issues, and he thought one day that because they were adding new positions to his department, that they were going to replace him. So he had looked on some listserv or something and saw that there were new jobs, and no one had told him about it or talked to him about it. So he immediately went to the negative and was like, oh, they're going to replace me. So he went to his boss and he says, you know what? I quit. And so he quit and had no, he had no income, nothing. So we'd only been roommates with this guy for like, I don't know, a couple months at the time. And so all of a sudden now he doesn't have a job and he can't, and he's like, hey, I've got an inheritance coming from my grandpa, because my grandpa sold all this land to somebody, the Army or the Army Corps of Engineers or something. So I got all this inheritance is going to come to me. Well, then ironically on that election day, grandpa died and he didn't get anything and wasn't going to get anything. And he would get up in the morning and he would leave, and then he'd come back at like 10:30 at night, like he was going to a job, but he actually wasn't. So this one morning I got up and I went to the bathroom and I saw these gray looking dots on the floor, like perfectly circular dots, and they were gray. And I looked and I was like, what has he spilled on the floor? So I took a piece of toilet paper and I wet it and I and I smelled it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's shit. Why is it gray? And why would he leave it on the floor? And it was, a nice ass house. So it wasn't like we were living in the slums and, I was living with some crackheads or whatever. It was a nice house, and it's not where you would normally leave shit. I normally shouldn't leave shit on the floor anywhere, right? So right. I was like, whoa. So I opened the door and I look, and there's a trail of feces going from the bathroom around the corner into his bedroom, around the corner again, over to his closet, and on his bed. So it was like he shit the bed, went to the closet like to grab a towel. I could just see it. I'm making up this whole story in my head. So I called the guy that we were renting rooms from, and I said, hey, you're not going to believe this. Can you come home? And he said, yeah, sure. What's up? And I said, this dude just shit on the floor and then left it. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, this guy's behind in his rent and he shit in the floor and left it. And I was like, yeah. And he said, so he came home and he said, how did you find this? And I said, dude, look, there's spots all the way from the bathroom all the way around the corner of his room and into his room. And it was like, holy smokes. Well, he ended up having to evict the guy, which is not easy in North Carolina. Which is a good thing. I'm not saying that it should be easy to evict people, but he ended up having to evict the guy, and but yeah, the guy had, and from then on, his nickname was the Shitter, because he had shit his bad. He had shit his bad. Went to his closet. Went around, and guess where I would have went the first as soon as I shit myself. And guess what? We've all shit ourselves, right? So the first place you go is you go to the toilet, and then you get in the shower and you clean up, right? And then you go back and you clean up all the shit. So this guy didn't do at least the third step there of cleaning it all up. So that's the story of
God,
the Shitter.
what a piece of shit.
Literally.
Yeah. He really was. He really was. I have another story about that guy, but I'll save it for another time. So I'm sorry, I just bulldogged it like I did the Bowser and Crowder conversation.
That's okay. It was totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yes.
So what's next there? I am marveling over your Funko collection.
It's awesome.
After you told me that you and Ashlyn had a Funko collection, I pictured 3, 4, 5 characters. Dude, that's...
There's 34 Office Funko Pops. I've got another 19 of various TV and movie characters over on my nightstand. I've got 4 WWE Funkos, and then she's got, I don't know, probably 60 or 70 different Marvel.
Good for her.
That's awesome.
Hey, does she have a favorite
Incredible.
Marvel character by chance?
That's a good question. I would say maybe right now, because of how much she loved the show, it might be Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
Because I think she really kind of identified with some of the things that Kamala Khan was going through in the show.
Good choice.
But
Excellent.
But you never know. I could be totally off base because that was a few months ago. It definitely could have changed.
Maybe it's Kevin Bacon after the holiday special.
It could be. God, that was so good.
That was fantastic.
I need to go back and rewatch that.
I had high expectations for it, and it exceeded those. So,
Yeah. Well, that song.
Oh,
The song was phenomenal.
Yeah, the song is required holiday listening the song in the special required in the Spiker household every year going
Yes.
forward. So.
Yeah, it's definitely in the rotation for us every year.
So
for sure. What comic needs a TV or movie adaptation?
Oh, damn it, Mike! You should have prepared me for this one. You bastard. Now, are we saying character? Are we saying storyline? Are we saying characters? Are we?
Well, you can take it in whatever direction you want.
Okay.
You are the expert on this one, my man. I'm waiting.
Like I said, he should have prepared me for this because this is
we can move on to another question while you think about it.
I was going to say, let's move on because that's a very loaded question.
Okay.
It's honestly a very intense question. So
I do want to hear the answer to that before we go
we will come back to it because it may tie into something else I think Michael's going to discuss later on.
What action figure line did you use as wrestlers besides your actual wrestling figures?
G.I. Joe. Hands down. No question. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe. G.I.
Because of the articulation, right?
The articulation.
Dude, all my old Ninja Turtle figures.
Okay.
Because Rat King was the heavyweight champion. And him and Leonardo had a feud forever. And it finally culminated in like a steel cage match in the old blue WWF ring.
Nice.
Yes. And there'd be other figures, but it was predominantly all the, the Turtles are like the Horsemen. They were unstoppable. So, oh God, yeah. And let's see here. Those little mini Street Fighter guys. I mean, the GI Joes were thrown in there too occasionally. Like, it was really terrible. The smaller figures, like, okay, now we're having some midget matches between Blanca and Little Snake Eyes.
I can tell you, Big Boa wrecked some shit in my wrestling.
Oh,
career.
hell yes.
Big Boa.
And Crocmaster?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Those were the two big guns in my wrestling. They were kind of like the Road Warriors stand-in for me.
There you go. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Geez.
For me, I used my Kiss dolls that I had.
Incredible.
Would Gene Simmons put anybody over?
He was definitely the Hogan of the group. It doesn't work for me, brother.
That's true. And
Nobody will clean up from behind.
and then I had a Chewbacca that I got when I was like 6 or 5. That was but he was very stiff, but he was bigger than everyone else. So he was sort of like my Andre the Giant.
There you go.
Yes. and then it was the He-Man.
Right. I know that's a big common answer, especially I think if you grew up with the Remco AWA figures.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because there was so much similarity.
Yep.
And
then as time went on, you had
size and all.
Then you had the WWF figures, which are pretty comparable in size to everybody. They made their cameos quite a bit too. So.
Absolutely.
So.
You need a little more time.
I am still thinking because
okay. That's
so
fine.
is it a property? Is it a property that it's already had, or is it something that's not had a movie or a TV show to date? Are we talking brand new?
So it goes between, okay, can they do this right, or has it already been adapted and I want to see them do it again?
Well, if you have an answer for each, that would work too.
Well, I got a bunch of answers. So you've opened Pandora's box with this one. I would love to see a correctly done Green Lantern.
Okay, hang on. Keep any DC ideas separate for a minute.
Okay. Well, that's
gonna go to another question I have.
Half of the conversation just went by the wayside.
Okay,
because
it'll tie into another question.
I've got one though. I've got one.
All right.
I think if you've ever read it, and I talked to Spiker about this too, the Jonathan Hickman East of West. I think you could have a whole universe of that if you could do it properly. If you could do it right, East of West would be an incredible. You could have a 10-show Netflix episode of it. You could have an entire movie series of it. That apocalyptic sort of end of the world type. The four horsemen of the apocalypse.
I've only read the first volume of it, but it was really good.
Yeah, East of West.
Be into that.
Okay. Have you read it, Michael? Have you read East of West?
No.
It's absolutely phenomenal. It's his magnum opus. I think it's better. As good as Hickman's Marvel stuff was, like East of West is kind of his just magnum opus. It's incredible.
Jonathan Hickman is one of those writers, at least in my mind, who can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Like anything I've read from him, his X-Men is fantastic. The Fantastic Four run was like incredible.
Yeah.
Like, and that's even without the Human Torch, who was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it up. I didn't realize till I started that was right after they killed him off and they picked up the run without him. I'm like, oh, well, okay. But I'm like, damn, this is impressive even without him. So one of the series that comes to mind is actually a series I'm reading right now. It's called Once and Future. And the best way I've told Dr. Khan about it, the best way I can describe it, it's like a modern day search for King Arthur and like Excalibur. And it's like think of it like a modern day version of the Mummy, except they're looking for King Arthur instead.
Oh, my interest is piqued.
It's super well done. It is very, very entertaining. That's one of them that comes to mind. If we're staying away from DC stuff, we're going to have to come back. But I wish that all the Spider-Man properties were together.
Right.
Because if you had them all together, you could do Maximum Carnage. You already had the setup for it and everything, which was one of the best Spider-Man crossovers ever. Because you have Venom, Carnage, Black Cat, Shriek. You had all the Cloak and Dagger, and I would love to see the Inhumans done with a budget.
It's exactly what I was about to say. Exactly what was about.
If you put great minds behind it and money behind it, you had a hell of a story. I watched one episode of it because it's on Disney Plus. I'm like, no.
See, I didn't mind it. I didn't have huge expectations for it because of the budget constraints that I knew it was going to have.
Yeah.
And I still found it enjoyable, but it could have. I mean, that was when they had the whole changeover where they decided TV was going to be separate.
Yeah, and they were putting much
the cinematic universe because they still had Perlman was in charge of the TV side.
Yeah.
Feige was in charge of the movie side, and that's
wasn't
before
it?
Feige just took everything over.
And that was on ABC, wasn't it? That was even like along the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. line.
Yeah.
So if you had given it to like Netflix, who Daredevil is still one of the coolest properties ever adapted,
yes,
then it would have been fine. If you'd given it to somebody with writers who actually cared about the source material and a budget, it would have been friggin' amazing. You could have tied it into everything because there was a point in time where the Inhumans did get tied into everything in the comic world.
Yeah. Well, and I think also they were probably restricted because I think it was either an 8 p.m. time slot, or 9 p.m. So it wasn't in that 10 p.m. time slot where you could get away with a little bit more. It was the more prime time, early prime time where it had to be more geared, viewable for children and things.
And so I was pretty happy to see Black Bolt's return, and I was pretty happy to see Black Bolt come back in Multiverse of Madness, even if it was for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, although I am disappointed that they didn't have Anson Mount.
No, that was him. No, that was him, and apparently
in the movie it was.
Yeah, he even admitted it was him. Because it was great. Because I'll tell you what. I think I told you this, Michael. The day it came out was the day the first episode of Strange New Worlds dropped. So we watched Strange New Worlds, watched him be Captain Pike, and he's fucking great on that show. And then a couple hours later, we go watch him get his head exploded. I'm like, wow, that's definitely quite the career turnaround. Well, no, because Picard ended. It was okay. This is even better. Picard ended. There was a final episode of the second season of Picard. The Strange New Worlds premiere drops. So then you go see Multiverse of Madness, and Picard dies, and Captain Pike dies in about 10 minutes in the movie. What the fuck?
That's crazy.
And Frankie's like, yeah, he goes, I'm over here talking about the Vikings again. Yeah. No, and something they've missed with Thor, and Dr. Khan will back me up. I want to see Beta Ray Bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's something we had 4 movies to get him, and I understand why you didn't, but it would have been awesome. Hell, Christian Bale playing him would have been cooler than Christian Bale playing Gore.
With the multiverse now, though, I wonder if maybe we get Beta Ray Bill coming in later somehow through that.
The multiverse saga, if they do it right, is going to be incredible. Although I've read that the Kang Dynasty leading into Secret Wars, apparently they're speculating it's going to pretty much be the same idea as Endgame was, where Kang Dynasty, they lose, and then Secret Wars is about them winning. I said, well, that's almost like a ripoff. We've seen this already.
Yeah.
No matter you got to do something different. You got to drop a bomb at the end of Kang Dynasty, especially because the movie's called fucking Secret Wars. Us nerds know better.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Absolutely.
There was a theory that I read, and I was going to text this to Dr. Connacht because I read it yesterday or the day before. All the days run together when you're a new parent.
Yes, they do.
That the theory is at the end of Kang Dynasty, the Kang that shows up is actually the Beyonder. And then you go in the Secret Wars. The Kang from the multiverse is actually the Beyonder, and that's how you get into Secret Wars. And that's when you introduce everybody on Battleworld is in Secret Wars. I'm like, don't get me excited.
Oh, God.
Do not get me hyped if that is true. If that is revealed to be the one Kang out of the multiverse is revealed to be the Beyonder.
That would be incredible. That would be. I'm already having anxiety attacks over who they're going to cast for the Fantastic Four.
Apparently, it's going to be revealed in July. Apparently,
I know.
Big San Diego Comic-Con reveal.
But this ongoing debate that I have with Spiker every day about this, it seems like I'm like, I've got my three. I just don't know who I would put as the thing.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
So I think that as much as I think Erin Moriarty has to be the Invisible Girl. I think she's young. She could pull it off. I think she'd be great. I think that Chris Pine could play Human Torch. And then who was the guy, Chris, that I said that you could, now that we're trying to like go more kind of racially sensitive?
It was oh God, what was it?
Oh, I gotta look it up real fast.
I was gonna say hold on. I'm gonna dig through our text message conversation. Gotta go back.
God, what was his name?
18 years.
Shit, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, hold on here. I'm going back through all of our text message conversations. Hold on here, because I forget. I can picture him, but I cannot think of the guy's name. However, a name that was thrown out there that somebody put out there online that actually won't be terrible is Diego Luna, who's currently casting an Andor.
Yes.
To be him. I said, you know what? I could see it. But I enjoyed John Krasinski, the view we got of him in Multiverse Madness as Reed Richards.
I'm just not a Krasinski guy.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I'm sure there's somebody better, but I wouldn't be opposed if that. I know it's not, because they've pretty much said that's not happening. But let's see here.
I'm telling you that let's just make it easy. We just cast the gang from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Mac is Reed Richards.
Oh, the lead actor from for All Mankind.
Yeah. So it would be, but it was it's the African American guy.
Eddie Gathegi.
Yes.
Pronounce it. Yes.
That's it. Yeah, Eddie Gathegi could be Reed Richards. He's incredible. He's like that's. It's just who's going to play the thing. Like that is my only pinup of this whole.
Danny DeVito.
Chris Zaha.
Zaha. Yes.
It's clobbering time. But first, let me tell you about the time I sat in the Batmobile.
Ethan Suplee.
He needs to Photoshop Chris Zaha as the thing. Although the Photoshop of Danny DeVito is the thing might be although somebody Photoshopped Danny DeVito as Wolverine, and all of a sudden I'm like,
that's great too.
I'm like, I couldn't even be mad. He's the perfect height for it. So anyways, I just started slicing.
I honestly though, I think you could put that guy. Who's the guy that plays Jack Reacher in the Amazon films? I think he could be the thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the dude that's built like a friggin' tank.
Yeah.
But can you do better than Michael Chiklis, though? That's the problem.
Because
Chiklis had the look, and Chiklis could act.
As much as I really dislike the guy, like from his crazy ass podcast and YouTube channel, Ryback could play the thing. Ryback looks like a steroid. I mean, his head and neck are so thick now that he literally looks like the guy.
It's clobbering time, but first feed me more.
Feed me more. I hate Vince McMahon. I can wrestle anytime. Every company wants me to wrestle.
It should be CM Punk, obviously.
Yeah, right? Although the thing about Ryback is he was actually very nice the two times I met him in person. So
Really?
I can't really rag on the guy too much. Yes, he was actually very pleasant and very cool to meet in person. So he came into a restaurant where I was a manager,
Check.
and I saw him, recognized him. One of my servers went up and said hi to him. I just walked up and said, "Hey, I'm just a fan. I'd let you be, but can you come by and say?" He goes, "Absolutely." So he came up. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "Thank you." He goes, "You didn't have to count my entire meal." And I think I still have a screenshot of it on my phone. What he ordered, it was like $45 worth of food, and it was like wings and salmon and salad. It was like a ridiculous. I'm like, holy shit, the guy actually lives the gimmick. I'm impressed.
Right.
But just
No
super
carbs, all protein, and
but just
and veggies.
super nice, super down to earth. Didn't mind. My server went up to him and said hi to him and everything. He was super nice to her too. So, so anytime. But I've read the comments that he makes, and yeah, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I still remember him being a very pleasant man.
Hey, he was sharp. He was sharp enough to get a free meal.
Well, I mean, we hooked up Ziggler and the Miz once too. When they came in, talk about Miz plays such a great asshole, but talk about a guy who was so far from his character in person.
Yeah.
That it was like night and day. Like he was very soft spoken. Or him and Dolph were sitting watching the Brown Steelers game on the TV, and we were talking about football. And Miz actually goes, "No," he goes, "Why don't you talk?" He goes, "What about you?" He goes, "What do you, obviously it's what you do, where are you from, how long you've been a wrestling fan." And he wanted to talk about me instead of talking about himself. And that to me, that's what I remember about.
That's
Miz.
Interesting. Talking about wrestlers and comic books, did you know that, and I did not realize this till I was going through the complete collection of all those Thor, Jason Aaron, that CM Punk actually gets writer's credit for Thor Annual #1?
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know
he
that.
worked on a couple of different books, didn't he?
Yeah, he has a Drax book, I think, that I haven't
Yeah.
read, but I know he wrote it.
I had no idea.
For a few issues.
Yeah, that was one of the things he did on his 7-year sabbatical.
Yeah. Incredible. Excellent.
Okay. Favorite snack cake as a kid versus now?
I'll go ahead and jump in here.
Oh, hi, Frank. You're still here.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I go back to the role as producer, and then I come back out, and now I'm on-screen talent,
Absolutely.
I do a little double roles. Speaking of roles, I'd have to go with the old Little Debbie. And if we're going to be more specific on the Little Debbie, Little Debbie, I would say back in the day, the fudge. Somebody help me out.
Fudge round.
The fudge rounds was my jam. There's another one that's got more icing on it. That's shaped like a sexagon.
The Swiss cake rolls.
Swiss cake roll was mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Swiss cake rolls.
You're talking about some kind of cake, right, Frankie?
It's definitely a cake, and it had
I know what you're talking about, but I couldn't tell you the name of it.
It has an odd
It's like
shape.
a hexagon or something.
Yes, hexagon. That's what I was trying to say. Damn it. Yeah, no, I'm not even seeing it on their website, so maybe they don't make that anymore. And as opposed to now, I can't eat it. There's just no way. I can't have stuff these days. But so no cakes in the house. But I also, my parents used to get the seasonal cakes. So you'd have the brownies with the icing, or you'd have the cakes that had the Christmas tree look to it. I always would enjoy those. I mean, my parents would not buy fresh fruits and vegetables, but man, then we had all the Little Debbies that you could have.
Definitely the Swiss cake rolls and Tasty Cakes peanut butter candy cakes.
Oh my God.
Are still like the absolute And those are something you don't see here in our house because we had to cut back. Well, I should have cut back, and I just found them up here. And I know for a fact there's somebody on this call who's never had a tasty cake. And
I have finally had tasty cakes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, Jason D'Agostino sent me 2 boxes of butterscotch crimpets and 2 boxes of the jelly crimpets.
You son of a bitch. Well, there's a box coming to your house.
Crimpets. Oh my God.
Well, damn, that totally ruins my gimmick then, because there was a box heading your way later this week with a bunch more in them.
Oh, well, we'll eat them. Don't worry. Everybody here liked them.
Because I could have sworn I remember you saying you never had a tasty cake.
I hadn't until just about a month and a half ago. I had found an old PlayStation 2 that I had, and I'd sent it to Jason.
Okay.
Because he was wanting to play a couple of games from there that he hadn't played in years. And so he's like, here, let me pay you for the shipping or something. I said, tell you what, it'll be about the same. Just send me a couple of boxes of tasty cakes and we'll call it square.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about living around PA again, is that tasty cakes are easy to get.
Well, when you come down to the CWF Legends Fanfest, if you go to Dunedin, which will soon be home of Lord Barrett's Rose, you can go to the Delco's cheesesteaks, and there, along with your cheesesteak, you can have tasty cakes.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
so
shit.
did you have one with your cheesesteak, Frankie? Or no?
Well, yeah, only because Neely J bought like 3, and he made.
Of course he did.
He made me and someone else. Let's see, maybe it was Mark Beaudry.
Probably.
That try it. So that there was he made us all give it. Oh yeah. So it was me and Mark. He made us try it because obviously he's tried it, and then Jamie, being from Philadelphia, has tried them. And I may have tried them before after I saw them, but I wasn't a big fan. And then I went to the store and I realized I wasn't a big fan of Entenmann's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was always a little Debbie. Like younger, it was that I would have to say the Swiss roll, and I would always love the end pieces because they had the chocolate, the concentrated chocolate on the end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, oatmeal cream pie was always there. As an adult, though, as my taste buds have matured, those goddamn zebra cakes, along with the Star Crunch. The Star Crunch is a sleeper.
When
big
you get a fresh Star Crunch,
yes,
it's impossible to beat. The problem is getting a fresh one.
Oh, exactly.
Because too often they're a little old.
100%.
My big thing currently is the strawberry shortcake roll. A big fan.
Another good one. Absolutely.
And I haven't seen it in 2 years, but they used to have an eggnog roll that they would put out around the holidays. And
I thought so. I'm glad that you said that, because I thought that was just a fever dream I had one night that I had.
No, they had them for at least 2 or 3 years.
See, I thought they did too. I thought they did.
It's been a couple of years since they had them because we've looked everywhere.
No, I thought they did also.
And they were great. I felt like I bought enough of them that it should have stayed as an option, but apparently not.
Oh God!
I'm also a big fan of the zingers.
Oh, like the raspberry,
the raspberry zingers. I remember going to the grocery store not a grocery store, at the gas stations, the convenience stores as a kid, and that would be one of my jams that I would get when Grandpa would take me. I'm doing an image search of North Carolina snack cakes.
I also liked the. I think it was Hostess brand, the blueberry loaf, a blueberry muffin loaf. It was like a rectangle.
Yeah.
4 or 5 inches long, maybe. I used to buy those before I'd go play golf. I'd grab a couple of those and throw them in my golf bag.
That's awesome.
For the turn after the first 9, I'd have that as a little energy boost.
I mean, I'm still like at the end of the day, like I don't consider it a snack cake, but double decker chocolate moon pies are still probably like my all time.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
You know, like that's my big jam. But
Yeah, that was another thing that we would get from my when my grandpa would take us, and he, I don't know, it was weird. He would always push it on us. He's like, "What'd you get you a moon pie or RC or whatever?" And it's like, I'm a Coke kid, Dad, and I'd rather get this, Little Debbie honey bun.
Oh, those are good when they're fresh.
Yeah,
Oh,
they have to
yeah.
be fresh.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. I love it. I love watching that guy on YouTube, the guy who makes the New York sandwiches. And it's like, I want a bacon, egg, and cheese with Takis and honey bun.
The Aki way.
Oh God, the stuff he makes with honey buns as
Yes.
the bread is just off the
It's
charts.
insane. It's insane.
Absolutely. Guy's my hero. Oh God.
Don't forget the beverage. Never, never, never.
Never.
All right. Perfect summer vacation day when you were 10 years old.
All right, this is we're gonna wrap it up on this one.
I got two more, and then
Two more. Okay, here we go. Two more. Let me say this, but back to the snack cakes. I just want to throw this out there. Probably start a fight with someone. I don't like Intimates. I don't like Mrs. Freshly's. Like I am a Little Debbie truist or
Amen,
apologist.
brother.
You know,
That's that North Carolina coming out in us, brother.
yeah. Back when I was running the roads in the real estate, if I needed something and I was broke and I only had a couple bucks, it had to be Little Debbie. And I made a mistake many times of trying something else, some brand I never heard of. I am Little Debbie 100%, except for the raspberry zingers. If it's a honey bun, I think it's Little Debbie's the one. Definitely not Mrs. Freshly, because Mrs. Freshly's tastes like Mrs. Shitley's. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead and with the question.
Perfect summer vacation day at age 10.
Go out, sit out on the porch. I mean, I lived at the beach, but we had like an area that had a little small pool. Sit out by the pool, get burnt to crap during the day. As we go after the pool, we go to our local little place and have a North Carolina style cheeseburger or burger, which was basically just a burger with slaw, chili, fresh onions, and mustard. I can still taste it. There was potato wedges at this place. Then on the way home, we'd get a big fried calabash seafood platter with the tartar sauce and the cocktail sauce. That's the perfect day.
That sounds
and then,
great.
You feel like you've had so much sun exposure that by the end of the night you start getting nauseous from a little bit of heat exhaustion and probably a little bit of sun poisoning mixed in. That's it, man.
Phil, were your cheeseburgers as a kid, were they pretty wet?
Yeah.
Like the bottom bun or the top bun would be, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
because
something
of the
I
mayonnaise
miss.
that was in the slaw. The mayonnaise and the slaw and the grease. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I absolutely miss, because you couldn't do that today, because someone would be like, they'd complain all about it. But there was a place that was near my grandparents' house, and it was called Maxie's Drive-In, and it was this little old lady who ran it. But the story was that her boyfriend actually was the owner. And he had been barred from owning a restaurant because after the Jim Crow laws, they abolished the Jim Crow laws, he would not let black people come into his restaurant. And then there was a shootout in our town. He was involved, and this guy was always around. His name was Bill. Bill was and it was my first job I ever had when I was 13. I was a cook at this place. And the lady Maxine went to our church, and she had a AMC Gremlin, and her mother had a Pacer with like the bubble windows. And I thought Maxie was old, but then like her mom was like way older. But anyway, so like the story was that this guy was like a racist, and he wouldn't let people come into his restaurant, and they had a shootout. And so now this lady ran this, and it was called Maxie's Drive-In. The building is still there. So I was 13, so that would have been 86 that I worked there. I'm not sure when it closed, but my grandparents would go, and you'd call in the order. Hey, this is Luther. That was my grandma's name. Hey, can I get 2 cheeseburgers and 2 orders of fries? And you'd go pick it up. Just like, I mean, that doesn't happen a lot today. You can't do that to McDonald's. Well, back in the day when I was a kid, you could, right? But you'd pick those things up, and you get back to grandma and grandpa's house, they'd pull them out, and like the bread wasn't bread. The bread was like, imagine taking a piece of bread and pouring water on it. That's how the bread was. I mean, it was like,
Hell yeah.
It was not like bread. It was like mayonnaise soaked bread is what it was
Fantastic is what it sounds like.
It was. It was.
Yeah. But it could have happened. Look, I'm old all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah, you couldn't do it today because people are too sensitive about their bread. Yeah. So the perfect day for me, let me get back to the question, would be at home playing video games with just by myself and no one around, playing video games, and then riding my 3-wheeler through the woods.
There you go.
Nice.
Good time.
Oh, mine was probably at 10 years old, probably reading a book, or, hibernating and reading books or reading comics or something like that. That was my favorite last time I was about 10 years old. And at 37, nothing's changed.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So.
All right, last 2 questions. Favorite toy playset you had as a kid, or one that you wanted? For me, the one that I wanted, and I looked at it 3 years in a row after Christmas, holding my $100 bill Christmas money that I got, and trying to decide, did I have $5 to pay the sales tax and bring home the USS flag? And I never pulled the trigger. But boy, did I want that thing.
What was it?
It was the 6 or 7 foot long aircraft carrier for G.I. Joe.
The greatest toy ever made.
Besides the monster Castle Grayskull set.
Oh, God. Absolutely.
That was probably my favorite that I had, was my Castle Grayskull. It got a lot of use.
The old school Castle Grayskull set.
The playset that I wanted, I passed up. Like, I had buyer's remorse that I passed up on the Defiant when I was younger, because G.I. Joe was going on more into that space cowboy crap. And I was kind of like, eh. And I wasn't really that disappointed that I didn't have the flag back then, because I liked having sort of moderate sized play sets, because the thing was just so big. I loved it though. I loved it. The play set that I really wanted would probably have been, just because my parents finally said you can't have every single toy line. But back then it would have been like the Thundercats lair.
Oh yeah.
But today it would be, if I could go back to my young self, Boulder Hill from Mask. Boulder Hill would be something that I would want. The big Mask playset, Boulder Hill, by far.
You mean it's not the Battle of Endor playset?
Oh God, son of a God damn it! That and you Battle of Endor and the goddamn, and that makes me hate Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and all that shit too, because it was the same playset. Like speaking of which, as I was going through Legos and I'm looking through all the different playsets and things, that stupid Ewok playset came up for Legos, and I just automatically slammed my computer thing down and just had to walk away. Just pissed me off. Fucking Ewoks. God.
Fucking Ewoks.
All right. We'll wrap her up here.
Hold on. I didn't answer.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. For me, Yeah, I finally want to jump in here. For me, my favorites that I had was the Castle Grayskull, and I had the Snake Mountain.
Oh wow,
Yes.
Snake Mountain.
was cool.
Yeah, Snake Mountain. You had the thing you could talk into,
Yeah.
like manipulated your voice.
I wonder if that's what Ole Anderson used for the Black Scorpion.
Stinger.
That I didn't have. I can't think of anything. I mean, I had a pretty good whatever I wanted kind of. I mean, my parents made me had me know that I had to appreciate everything that I had, and they made it clear of like, yeah, we can't afford that. So anything that I knew that we couldn't afford, I was done with. So. Yeah. So that was only those two things that I actually even had.
Okay, here we go. This is your time, Spiker. First 3 movies in your rebooted DC movie universe.
All right. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. And I want a movie. I wanted James Gunn to write Henry Cavill's Superman. And I know we're not getting it, but it pisses me off that we're not, because James Gunn understands humanity and people, and that's what you need in someone who can write Superman. So I know it's not happening, but I would make it happen anyways. A actual Green Lantern film that doesn't suck. Still do Hal Jordan, and you can do a whole series of them because you have the one, then you can explore the other lanterns in sequels. The third one though, because you could do a whole Green Lantern movie series just based on that and get back to Green Lantern Rebirth, which is one of my favorite stories ever.
So you wait a minute now. Go back. You said Superman, Green Lantern.
Yeah, I want somebody who can actually write Superman to write a Superman movie that actually understands the character. Because it's not that Superman, you couldn't relate to him in these last couple movies, I felt.
Right.
Agreed.
Part of the Superman thing is Superman's humanity and him struggling to learn humanity. And you find out how human he actually is while he's learning about himself and how alien he is, but how he's really not. There is a live action adaptation. I don't know if any of you guys have read it. It's done in an animated form. It's done really well. It's called All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
And so you've read it, or have you seen it, or?
I know the live action animation thing you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's one of the greatest Superman stories ever, in my opinion, because he finds out he's dying in the first issue. And the next 11 issues are him doing things, him proving why the world needs a Superman. The only Superman story I've ever cried during. The last issue got me. And I openly admit it because it's very emotional and it actually gets you to that point. You're like, holy shit. So that's the type of Superman that you need. And I wish James Gunn, but who knows? James Gunn is apparently doing a younger Superman. So maybe we'll work up to that point.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Brightburn?
I did, and I wasn't impressed. I thought it killed so much. It had so much potential, and it didn't live up to it.
What potential did you think it had?
So it was supposed to be like, okay, what if it's Superman gone bad? Which, but it was like boring to me. Like it didn't really like sit well because, and maybe they would have developed it later on, but right away you knew Superman had arch nemesis. But you didn't get that till they teased it at the very, very end during the credits.
Yeah, but it's more of Superman discovering that he had these powers, but being an asshole.
Yeah,
And that's the part that I really liked about it, because I mean, you have a kid, there'll be a day where JJ will try you, right? And you'll go, oh yeah, I could see, but what if he was this trying me and trying everyone all the time, and then had all these superpowers? That's what I got from it, and it was, unspoken that it was Superman, but I don't know that any movie or whatever has really explored what it's like to discover you have these powers and then go through puberty and the craziness of the hormones that happens, when you go through puberty and then having the powers. And then if you happen to be one of those that are, just an evil person, which, of course we don't have those, but you know what I mean? It's like, here this kid is going through all this stuff, got these powers, and then they're, evil or an asshole or whatever that you want to put it. I thought that if you don't tie it into Superman, I think it's fabulous. But if you go, here's a character that's like Superman, or that is Superman, but we're not going to call him Superman, I would think that would be. I think it's a little. It's different. Gosh.
Frankie just described the plot of the first 3 Star Wars prequels.
Yeah. Well, very true. It's tough though. Like if you've got only 3 movies and you're starting to like rewrite the universe, your first 2, I mean, or you're starting to kind of correct it, right? If you're going to base it on establishing origins and things like that, the first 2 are easy: Superman, Batman, right? The question is for the third one to really understand the big universe, and particularly people like even myself that weren't as into all the other aspects of DC. You have to have, your question is, do you do a proper Green Lantern or do you do a proper Flash movie?
No, you do it. No, you do a proper Justice League of America. Our generation, we grew up on the Super Friends. We should have that as a movie. And I don't mean Marvin and Wendy. I mean having Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin.
But I think bringing those in, I think if you establish, like, do you do a Superman, a Batman, a Green Lantern, a Flash, a Wonder Woman, then you hit it with do it properly, then you hit it with the Justice League of America, so that you have like a Super Friends movie essentially. You know what I mean from that standpoint.
One of the sorry, continue.
Oh, you're the expert, man.
One of the greatest blunders in my mind, though, to this day, is still, how do you take Superman? How do you take Batman? How do you make a movie where you combine arguably the 2 greatest and biggest superhero names, make it a very subpar movie, and then proceed to make the same mistake and call it the Justice League? How do you do this? Like, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it.
It was one guy's vision, and he didn't know what he was doing.
And the theatrical cut is Justice League. Yeah, you argue the Joss Whedon thing messed it up. Whatever happened there, the Zack Snyder cut of it is much better. But you have to have 4.5 hours to spare. Luckily, it splits it into parts for you on HBO Max. Like, they'll say, okay, part 1 is this, part 2 is like an hour and a half chunk in the middle, and it's like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4.
I mean, just think of how good of a movie you could make with DC if you really did a proper, true to the comic book Dark Knight Returns.
Well,
right.
I think part of the problem was they didn't have like a Kevin Feige type steering.
Exactly. No, it's exactly right.
And
hopefully with Gunn they'll have that.
And you know what? And people are like, well, I don't know, James Gunn this. I'm good. Guys, James Gunn took the Guardians of the Galaxy and made them into household names.
They were fun movies. They were good movies.
And he made, arguably, in my mind, the most enjoyable DC movie so far with the Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And how cool is it if eventually in this universe, because I think they have the potential to overtake even Marvel if they do it right. If they, you could spin off like Kingdom Come. I would love to see Kingdom Come in a movie form.
That was actually going to be my third one, because Kingdom Come, you can work with a basic knowledge
Absolutely.
of everybody, and it's the story they tell. Like, Christine absolutely like fell in love with it, and Christine knows, but she doesn't know as much as the rest of us.
Yeah.
And she's even like, holy shit. She goes, that's deep. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That hit on a huge level, and it's more, and again, Superman, Mark Waid knew how to write Superman.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
So, yeah, Kingdom Come, War Crisis, or an actual Crisis on the Infinite Earths would be my third answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that would work.
Fabulous.
Yes,
As long as none of them have freaking Ewoks in them.
I was just about to say.
What about the Wonder Twins?
The Wonder Twins are those are some of my favorite characters of all time. The Wonder Twins.
Wonder Twin power. Activate.
Form of Foley
Bucket
catheter.
and water.
That'll be Christine and Dr. Khan at FanFest when they're the two doctors in the house.
They're the Wonder Twins.
Dude, that was exactly.
Wonder Doctor power combined.
Get little rings. We can have little rings like the little Wonder Twin rings.
Dude, don't tell me. I will find them online and make you both wear them at FanFest.
I think that would be perfect.
Right along with Frankie having to wear his Hawaiian shirt and a lucha mask.
Yes.
That Skeletor mask better show up at FanFest. If not, I'm throwing a riot in the hotel lobby.
Oh, it'll be there up in the room with a various sundry of things.
Excellent.
Oh, look, I found Zan and Jada rings on Etsy.
Awesome.
Already, folks.
So we're going to see Frankie at FanFest with the Fred Flintstone button-up shirt and the Skeletor mask.
Correct.
Fan-fucking-tastic. Greatest FanFest ever.
And with my puppet Trixie there by my side.
Awesome.
Even better. I want to see Janet converse with Trixie. This will be the greatest.
Frankie is becoming the Bray Wyatt of the BK universe.
That's good shit, pal.
One of my kids had some friends over, and they're like, I was teasing them and saying, let me see, how can I embarrass you? Should I just wear my Fred Flintstone shirt, or should I bring out Trixie? And they're like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I was starting to make them anxious. I was like, come on, I'm not gonna do anything. I'll behave. So I pretty much behaved, but trust me, I really wanted. I told them, I was like, hey, look, if you become difficult, I'm bringing Trixie out, and Trixie will talk to you and discipline you in front of your friends. So just imagine how that's going to.
Oh man.
Well, cool, awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Incredible.
Enjoy it, guys.
Handsome Michael, thank you for your wonderful, thoughtful questions, and for letting me see this collection. Look at this collection this guy's got back there. That's amazing.
I'll snap a picture of them and send them to you.
I'm impressed. I'll send you a picture of Andy's in her room, and trust me, they're nothing like that mountain you have behind you.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, fellas. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Can't wait for part 3.
Until next time.
All right, guys. Love you guys as always.
Right. Later, guys.
Yep.
The best.
All right, everyone, and we're back. That was a great, fun episode. A lot of good questions, a lot of good times there from some of my favorite folks. Mm-hmm. Before we get out of here, I want to mention the CWF Legends Fanfest, June the 3rd in Sunny Lutz, Florida, at the hotel with the big long name. Just Google CWF Legends Fanfest, and you'll find it. Tickets go from like $70 to $200 if you want all the bells and whistles, and you have to get all the bells and the whistles. So I did some price comparison with the CWF Legends Fanfest and the other fan fests that go on. Mm-hmm. You know, $200 gets you all these sessions, and you get 3 autographs, which each legend, you get a selfie or a picture with the legends. And one of the things I like about it is it's small, you don't feel rushed, and you don't have to wait a long time, right? So I did the price comparison with another one, which I won't name, and all of that would come up to be about $720.
Wow.
Right. So you can pay $200 or $720, and I think the choice is pretty clear. So that's why I support the CWF Legends Fanfest, and I don't support the other guys. And that's why my wife and I, bring a person or two every year. Or every time that there is a fan fest, I should say. And this year we're bringing Michael Vulgari, and there's talk of some other guys that need some help, and so we'll probably throw some money their way to help get more people there as well. I won't mention any names, but I hope that Barry says that each one could be the last, and he's talked on Breaking Kayfabe with Bouchard and Barry, all these reasons of why that might happen, and inflation, and you getting these agents that are getting involved, and of course that means that the prices for the talent goes up. So at the risk of this being the last, I want to encourage everyone, if you've ever been on the fence and you really don't know, this is really the one to come to, because it truly could be the last one. Barry told a story this week of Jerry the King Lawler, who unfortunately had a stroke, and he said that Ben James approached Jerry at a convention, and Jerry said, "Yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, call my agent." And it was the same guy who's telling Ricky and Robert to get $75 a piece for signing the belt and all this stuff. So
yeah, you know what that means?
Tell me.
We should be agents. We've been doing the wrong thing, Frankie.
Oh man, I know, right? Yeah, call your friend up, Pamela.
Oh, hey. Down low. Yeah. I should be her agent, huh?
Yeah, you should be something, all right.
I should be something. Yeah.
All right, bud. I think we're going to go ahead and do the old go home. Thank you so much for your time. Get some rest. And, when you get a little free time, jump on one of these other podcasts. There's a ton of people that love to hear from you.
I hope so. I mean, for both having time to jump on another podcast and people wanting to listen to me. Yeah. I don't even like to listen to myself sometimes.
Yeah, well, they won't want to listen to us for long.
Ah, come on. We're a little rusty, and I'm stuttering again, but we'll get back into the groove of things, and once everything gets settled and everything with my with my job and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure we entertain all 8 of you out there, and so yeah, I mean, I love you guys.
Love you too, buddy. All right, thanks everyone for listening.
Okay, bye.